Okay, so once again, welcome everyone. Welcome parents. We're going to get started with our GT awareness meeting. My name is Ms. Dunn. These are the items that we're going to be covering for today. We're going to talk about the depth and complexity model, our student projects. I'll show you where our program guide is on our webpage, and then you also have our contact information. I'll turn it over to Mrs. Lanese for the Spanish slide.
Buenas tardes, padres de familia. En este momento está Ms. Dan dando una presentación sobre los servicios del programa de GT y algunas preguntas que han tenido durante el año escolar. Ella va a repasar alguna información que está aquí presente, como pueden ver, el modelo de análisis y complejidad, los proyectos que los estudiantes hacen durante el año escolar, la guía del programa, el portal que tiene el programa de GT en el Distrito Escolar de United, y algunos objetivos del programa.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is click on our webpage. So I'm going to take you to uisd.net. If you go to generally uisd.net and you click on departments, you can also find advanced academics and then gifted that way. And so you can see here that there are several links on the right side. There is a video recording of the last awareness meeting that we had back in October. And then you can see the Facebook Live, the slides that we shared on Facebook Live this year as well. And then there's a link in case you want to join our advocacy group. And so the presentation that I'm sharing with you is available here under GT Documents. It is the second one where it says Overview of GT Services, Differentiation and Project Development. Okay. Can you all see the webpage? Thumbs up. Mrs. Moore, can you see the webpage? Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and transition back to our slides. And on our webpage, you'll find announcements, resources, things like that. So I do encourage you to visit it often. And then we're going to have a little overview of the depth and complexity model, projects, and then you always have our contact information there. Okay.
Como pueden ver, Ms. Jan repasó en la página de web del Distrito de United unos enlaces en el cual les da más información sobre el programa de estudiantes sobresalientes en el Distrito de United, y todos los enlaces se encuentran al lado derecho. Aparte, también hay videos, hay presentaciones y todo lo que usted vaya a necesitar. Y esta junta también que se está dando se encuentra en esos enlaces que Ms. Jan acaba de repasar en este momento. Aquí se encuentra la agenda y es mucha información muy importante, donde ella va a repasar lo del portal, el modelo, los desarrollos y cualquier información que necesiten adicional de esta junta. Nos pueden hablar a nuestros números telefónicos que se encuentran aquí en este folleto.
Okay. So as I mentioned on our webpage, you will find announcements. You'll also find some resources, some things that students can also access at home, several documents, including our state plan for GT. The state plan has all of the rules and requirements that we follow to make sure that our program is correct and that we have everything in place according to the law. We also have some gifted and talented links on the webpage, including the Davidson Institute, Hoagie's Gifted, NAGC, and then the Summer Institute for the Gifted. SANG is a really good one that deals with the social and emotional needs for gifted, and there's a lot of information for parents on that website. And then, of course, TAGT, which is our Texas Association of Gifted and Talented.
So, le estaba explicando a Ms. Jan que en el portal se encuentra algunos resúmenes de los recursos muy importantes, que están los avisos, los folletos que incluyen las oportunidades de aprendizaje, los recursos para los niños GT, que son opcionales en casa, y respuestas a literatura, documentos y guías. También se encuentran enlaces que ya se repasó también en nuestra página sobre los alumnos sobresalientes y talentosos, y aparte de aquí alguna información adicional donde pueden ir a estos recursos y a estas páginas Para más información y todo lo que se encuentra, estaba explicando que en la sección donde dice SENG es una página muy importante donde se habla sobre la emoción social del alumno y cómo puede el alumno acoplarse al sistema de ser un alumno sobresaliente.
Thank you, Mrs. Lanese. We do have a few comments in the chat that they can't hear. Can I just get a thumbs up once again from participants to let me know if the audio is fine and you can hear us? Okay, great. So hopefully, most of you have gotten the audio by now. All right, so depth and complexity. Depth and complexity is a model that we use. It is a model that's been in place for a very long time. Dr. Sandra Kaplan and Betty Gould created this model, and it helps teachers facilitate more deep and complex learning for students. Gifted students have a curious nature, and they thrive in inspirational learning environments that foster creative and critical thinking. So this is what we encourage. This is the training that we provide for teachers so that students can think in a more deep and complex way. And you can see here that each element of depth and complexity has an icon, which is a visual representation of each concept. Our gifted students tend to think globally, so they might see the whole forest before the trees. And these prompts of depth and complexity really help to foster that way of thinking.
En esta sección se encuentra el análisis y complejidad sobre el modelo de enseñanza y diferencia. Aparte, este modelo fue escrito por la doctora Sandra Kaplan y ayuda a los maestros a facilitar una enseñanza precisa y compleja para los alumnos sobresalientes. También los alumnos sobresalientes son curiosos por naturaleza y progresan en entornos de aprendizaje estimulante que fomentan el pensamiento creativo y crítico. Cada elemento de análisis y complejidad tiene un icono, una representación visual de cada concepto. Entonces, como pueden ver, aquí hay unas fotografías abajo, y pueden ver que cada uno tiene que ver con la complejidad y el análisis. Y son diferentes conceptos en el cual los maestros pueden hacer las conexiones para esos alumnos que están en el programa GT y que son alumnos sobresalientes.
Thank you. And so here you can see some different examples of the icons. The first one is the language of the discipline. That really deals with specialized vocabulary. Any kind of person or professional in a field, for example, an author, any kind of tools and specialized language that an author would use, the students can use that icon. They can recognize the icon whenever they're dealing with the language of experts and the specialized vocabulary. Then you can see details, which looks like a flower in this case, and that deals with any kind of defining features and characteristics, attributes that set this particular item apart from other things. So children can be learning a variety of topics, and then they can learn to choose the details that actually characterize what it is that they're studying. It can be the parts of a plant, it can be, in chemistry, it can be an equation, it can be anything that the students are studying. Patterns, we want the students to look for elements that reoccur, sequence of events, order, and they can also make predictions based on past events. And then we have unanswered questions here. Unanswered questions really relates to areas of ambiguity or information that's missing, things that are unclear or claims that lack evidence. So this can be unanswered questions that still remain unanswered to experts in the field. And so students are able to look at those gray areas. We also have rules, which indicate structures underlying a subject, dealing with guidelines, regulations, power systems, systems of government, things like that. And then students look for trends. We want them to be able to identify and analyze social, economic, political, religious, geographic factors causing events to occur and trends over time. The next one is ethics. And this one, our students tend to really enjoy. Gifted students really like questions of morality and ethics. And so this particular icon refers to the moral principles or implications involved or invoked in a subject, any areas of controversy or argument, conceptions of right and wrong, and then, of course, leading to debate.
En esta sección están los iconos y están divididos. Empieza con lenguaje de la materia, el vocabulario y la terminología específica para una material o comunidad, un lenguaje utilizado por participantes y expertos, comprender cómo el lenguaje puede excluir a las personas. Y luego el siguiente icono son los detalles, donde los rasgos y características de una cosa son las diferencias que los distinguen y los crean diferente. Luego tenemos los patrones que se encuentran en un sistema, ya sea de trabajos diarios o en exámenes o en lecturas, donde hay elementos que vuelven a suceder, secuencias de eventos, orden y predicciones basadas en los eventos basados. Luego se continúan con las preguntas que no se pueden responder, que son difícil y es información que falta, que es faltante, no está clara o disponible, y las afirmaciones de falta de evidencia o que no se ha comprobado. También son los hechos que podrían haber sido ocultados a propósito, que muchas veces eso puede suceder cuando uno está leyendo algo en una escritura o en una lectura. Luego se continúan con las reglas, donde las estructuras que forman la base de una materia contienen pautas y reglamentos, también sistemas de poder, restricción y jerarquía, tanto implícita como explícita. Luego se continúan con las tendencias y estos son los factores sociales, económicos, políticos, religiosos, geográficos que ocasionan que ocurran durante algunos eventos. Y lo que estaba diciendo Ms. Dan, que ética, los alumnos encuentran algo interesante en esta sección donde los principios morales o implicaciones involucrados o invocados en una materia también en áreas de controversia o argumento, donde el alumno puede dar su opinión y concepciones del bien y el mal, cuidado de no simplificar y tomar en cuenta zonas grises.
There are some additional depth and complexity icons, and you may have seen these when your child has an assignment or has done some work, or if you visited the classroom, you might notice these icons on some of the assignments or on the whiteboard. The teachers will often post them on the board as they cover the different icons. And so with big idea, this relates to the unifying theory or generalization that best fits a subject. It's a big idea. It's a full sentence. Can the students read information? Can they study information and then synthesize that information and state, what is the big idea, right? What is the most important statement? We also have across disciplines, which looks like the shapes that are in a line kind of overlapping, and this relates to the influences that other subjects might have, how one subject is understood and relates to another subject. How it's understood by different cultures, disciplines, and ideologies. So the students could be studying one particular topic, but make connections, how it relates to literature, but then also there's an artistic connection and then also a historical connection. So that would be an example of across disciplines. Change over time relates to the relationship of elements in the past, present, and future. Whatever students are studying, whether it be the discipline of math and how it changed over time, or it could be history, how things have changed over time as far as historical events. It really, you hopefully are starting to see how these are just universal ideas that really apply to any type of content at all levels, right? Because we do have these in place for elementary, middle school, and high school. Multiple perspectives is one of my favorite icons. This deals with the ways in which different people see different situations, right? When you look at it from different perspectives, from different lenses, students can consider, diversity of thought, the practice of assigning weight and standing and varying opinions, and understanding who might benefit and who might harm from something. One example is genetic engineering. So students can look at it from the lens of the scientist, who is conducting the genetic engineering, but then they could look at it through the lenses of the actual subject, right? If it's an animal, there's morality there, and looking at it through the perspective, and then also through the perspective of the clergy, for example, how the church might have reservations about something like genetic engineering. The next icon you see is contribution, and that relates to the significant results of an idea or topic, the direct outcomes of a topic and benefits. And then the next one with the arrows coming together is convergence, the ways in which topics or ideas meet and potentially form new ideas, the meeting and point of various the meeting point of various topics or fields. So sometimes when students are studying a topic, you could have 3 students, each with their own idea, and then at the end, they think about how those ideas converge and how they can come up with a statement to synthesize it. And the last one on this screen is origin. So that relates to the beginning, the root, the source of a topic, genealogy and history of a topic, the antecedents and precursors. How did something start? Where did it originate?
So, continuamos con unos iconos adicionales, que es la idea principal, que es la teoría integral o generalización que mejor se adapta a la materia, idea o tema principal, lo que una materia describe sobre los temas tanto abstractos como concretos. Luego se continúa donde está en todas las materias, como pueden ver en esta figura. Las figuras están conectadas una con otra y es como la materia se relaciona, describe, está en desacuerdo, complica o influye en muchas otras materias, como la materia se comprende y es comprendida por diferentes culturas, disciplinas e ideologías. Luego se continúa con cambios conforme avanza el tiempo, y esta es la relación de elementos en el pasado, el presente y el futuro que ocasionan lógicamente muchos cambios y es continuo, no termina. Hay una continuación. Continuamos luego con diversas perspectivas, donde la manera en las que son diversas partes interesadas se ven y abordan una situación, las ventajas y los desafíos de la diversidad de pensamiento, la práctica de asignar importancia y tu posición ante las diversas opiniones, el comprender quién es el perjudicado y quién es el beneficiario también. Eso es muy importante, las dos partes. Luego está la contribución, donde los resultados importantes de una idea o tema, el resultado directo de un tema o los beneficios que se relacionan con unos temas en el cual los alumnos están estudiando en su salón de clases. Luego la convergencia, como ustedes pueden ver, que están los diferentes aquí señales yendo todos a uno, donde son las maneras en que los temas o ideas cumplen y potencialmente forman nuevas ideas. O cada alumno puede tener su idea, pero al fin de cuentas llegan a un acuerdo y el punto medio de varios temas o áreas es donde ellos se van a concentrar. Y finalmente está lo del origen, que es el principio, raíz o fuente de un tema, la genealogía e historia de un tema y los antecedentes y precursores de ese tema.
Okay, we continue on, and hopefully this is making more sense. Really, the power of the Kaplan model is that students, year after year, they see these prompts, they see these icons, and they start to naturally think in these deep and complex ways, and they start to apply, what they're these icons and these concepts to everything they learn throughout the years. The next icon is paradox. This relates to the contradictions in a topic, areas of dissonance, logic or scientific absurdities, problems for which there is no good solution. So whenever there's contradiction. And then we have parallel, referring to ideas or events that are similar and can be compared to one another, competing complementary topics or ideas. So for example, in literature, students can compare 2 characters and they might have some type of parallel, right? They might have similarities. They might have gone on a similar journey. And so that would be an example of parallel. And then here we have some questions at the bottom. So can you tell which icon pertains to each one of the questions below? The first one is, should people disobey unjust or immoral laws? If so, in what instances? So feel free to drop in the chat your answer, which prompt of depth and complexity you think it might be. Or if you want to unmute your mic and just share with us after having gone through the different icons, which one do you think would relate to that question? When we're dealing with unjust or immoral laws.
Ethics.
Okay, great. Thank you. So yes, ethics could definitely relate to that when students are analyzing the unjust or the immorality of laws in this case. Thank you. This next question, what are similarities and differences in the hero's journey taken by Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit and Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz? So we have these two characters that can be compared. Which icon do we think might apply in this case? Okay. So in this case, as I mentioned, parallel, the two characters could be analyzed side by side. And then this next one, what words would a mathematician use to describe how to solve a linear equation in the clearest and most accurate way possible? In this case, we would be looking at the language of the discipline. And then the last one, summarize and compare and contrast Béchamp's terrain theory and Pasteur's germ theory, and what are the implications? So here, two different scientists with two different theoretical ideas. This would be multiple perspectives.
En esta sección continuamos con los iconos y son los últimos que se encuentran, que es el de la paradoja, que son las contradicciones de un tema, áreas de discordancia, las incoherencias lógicas o científicas, los problemas por los cuales no existen una buena solución. Luego, algo paralelo, como podemos ver, son ideas o eventos que son similares y que pueden compararse entre sí, o temas o ideas opuestas o semejantes. Y luego, como ustedes pueden ver, al lado se puede identificar cuál icono pertenece a cada una de las siguientes preguntas por las cuales estaban dando ahorita un resumen. Estas son las preguntas que pueden ver en que los alumnos a veces se les pueden dar en su clase y hay que hacer las conexiones y poder ver cuál es el icono que pertenece a estas preguntas específicas en la cual ya dieron las respuestas. Una de las preguntas es, ¿debe la gente desobedecer las leyes injustas o inmorales? De ser así, ¿en qué situaciones? Entonces, esas son algunas preguntas donde se hace las preguntas a los alumnos para poder ayudarles a que piensen afuera de los pensamientos comunes que ellos tienen en el salón de clase y puedan identificar cuál es el icono y cuál puede ser la comparación que pueden hacer ahí, en el cual James ya repasó esas respuestas.
Thank you, Mrs. Lanese. We will continue on. These are some initiatives that we have in place. We do produce these exit tickets. It's a booklet that has one exit ticket per week for our elementary students. And you can see examples there, first grade, fifth grade, and you can see that each one starts with the student interest profile, because we do want teachers to see what our GT students are interested in, what are they passionate about, what are they curious about. And so they can draw pictures or they can write sentences depending on the age. And then they have an exit ticket that relates to the content that they're learning with the whole class each week. And they can answer those questions. Again, depending on the age, they can write sentences or draw pictures or both, because we do want to challenge our GT students. We want them to have something tangible like these exit tickets, where you can see the icons there. In this case, you can see patterns and you can see details, and then origin as well. So our students do have these in their classrooms. You may have seen them when you visited the classroom, or that your child may have taken it home as well. Okay, so our exit tickets are for K through 5, and each one has received that spiral bound book. Sometimes the teachers keep them in the classroom, which is a good idea because then they don't get lost. And the questions are designed to generate discussion and the deep and complex thinking related to the curriculum.
En esta sección está la diferenciación a través de proyectos de egreso para estudiantes sobresalientes. Entonces, este es un folleto que los alumnos sobresalientes que pertenecen a al grupo de GT tienen en su salón, y es un folleto donde contiene los boletos de salida, que se les hacen algunas preguntas a los alumnos y ellos hacen sus conexiones. Esto existe en el salón de kinder, primero, segundo, tercero, cuarto y quinto, y como pueden ver, tiene que ver aquí con la sección donde los alumnos ponen sus interés, escriben ellos lo que aprendieron. Son proyectos de egreso para estudiantes y cada estudiante recibió un libro, un folleto, un cuaderno en espiral de proyectos semanales. Y las preguntas están diseñadas para generar una discusión y un pensamiento analítico y complejo relacionado con el plan de estudios de los alumnos.
And I have gone and visited classrooms and seen, where the students get together in a group and they discuss the questions and they work together. Here we have a slide on project-based learning because another component of gifted and talented education and services at the campuses involves project-based learning. So I mentioned the interest survey, and we do have interest surveys at all levels, where our students get to answer questions so that teachers can see what their interests are, and that can drive the project. It can drive their research. And so we use the independent investigation method, IIM. There are 7 steps in the research process that our teachers guide the students through. And then they actually work on their developing a product. After they've done the research and documented it, they work on their project, and then they come up with a product or a performance at the end that goes along with that research. So you can see just a couple of photographs here of students as they were working through their research and their projects, and then you can see a product that one of the students created, a planet. You can also see up here, there's a link to the Texas Performance Standards Project, and that is our statewide assessment system with different tasks and different projects that the students can also choose, and it's by grade level. Okay.
Esta sección es la enseñanza basada en un proyecto y es el proyecto de estándares de desempeño del estado de Texas. Ustedes pueden entrar a la página de web del estado de Texas y van a encontrar que están los estándares ahí, dependiendo del nivel en el cual están los alumnos. Ahí, como pueden ver, está la encuesta sobre el interés del alumno. Cada estudiante GT debe llenar una encuesta de interés y los maestros pueden utilizar la información para facilitar las oportunidades de aprendizaje que se les da en el salón y cuando ellos están trabajando en sus proyectos. Luego la investigación, los estudiantes aprenden a utilizar el método de investigación independiente, que son los 7 pasos en el proceso de la investigación. Luego se encuentra el desarrollo del proyecto. Como pueden ver, los estudiantes investigan temas basados en sus intereses para crear diapositivas y relacionar el contenido con los elementos de análisis y complejidad. Y luego al final está el producto o la presentación de que el alumno durante el año escolar llegase a terminar y los alumnos crean un producto o presentación únicos de acuerdo con su investigación e informan la importancia, y es cuando ellos ya hacen su producto final. Y como pudieron haber visto anteriormente, habla unas fotografías de los productos en los cuales los alumnos ya habían hecho y habían terminado.
And some of you may have attended our campus showcases. We do have our students showcasing their research and their products at their home campuses, where they invite community members and parents to see their work and to give them an opportunity to present. Here you can see at the different levels, starting with primary, which is K through 2, there are sample projects here that you can click on and view. This one is on earthworms. It's a Texas Performance Standards project. Then on the intermediate tab, which are grades 3 through 5, there's one called Project Innovation Celebration. Then the middle school is 6 through 8. There's a project on Bluetooth technology. And then the high school, there is a project on the realities of immigration detention centers. So these are all linked projects of their videos that you can see on the Texas PSP website. And then down at the bottom, these are sample UISD presentations that our students have completed at the different levels. So I know I showed you some products that dealing with elementary. So I'll go ahead and click on this middle school 8th grade sample. And I'm just going to ask that you give me a thumbs up if you can see it and hear the audio.
My name is Daniela Granados, and I'm an 8th grader at United South Middle School. My project is on the influence of social media algorithms. My goal for this project is to show how algorithms cause immense change to us in our society today. Now, what is algorithm? Algorithm is a model that can predict human and behavior actions and is the reason you receive your social media feed the way you do. Throughout my research, I acquired lots of information, and what I found the most interesting is how small details designed into these ads add into the minutes you spend online. Companies such as Google, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube all have three main goals for their companies. They want to grow, engage their users, and make a profit. Former executives of these big companies have admitted that the applications are designed to be addicting and persuasive, and over time, it has shown in the result of a massive increase in depression, anxiety, and suicide. For my model, I decided to conduct a survey on my classmates to get their opinion on the topic, but we found ourselves in agreement how these algorithms cause great change, especially in our generation. I learned that it's important to be aware of the designer's point of view when we're using social media. It's not supposed to be addicting, and our phones should be used as a tool for our advantage. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.
Okay. So you got to see Miss Daniela, and she's now a high school student. So she did an excellent job on her research on social media algorithms. And then you can also click down at the bottom to see these other examples. So I'm gonna move on to the next slide in the interest of time.
Bueno, aquí se encuentran los proyectos de los estudiantes. Aquí hay unos resultados de los servicios del programa. Como pueden ver, está dividido entre secciones que se encuentra lo primario, donde el alumno es preescolar a segundo grado, intermedio de tercero a quinto, la secundaria, que es de sexto a octavo, y la preparatoria de noveno a doceavo. Pueden ver aquí son muestras de los proyectos de algunos alumnos del distrito de United, donde ellos crearon esto y son muestras y los enlaces, como ustedes pueden ver. El proyecto ahí dice primer grado, de qué es el proyecto del alumno. Y si ustedes ven, está subrayado, significa que tiene el enlace. Pueden oprimirle ahí y pueden ver estos videos y son ejemplos de algunos alumnos que hicieron sus proyectos en el pasado.
Here you have our contact information. We're always an email or a phone call away. You can contact us, and hopefully you got a good idea of what we have to offer in our GT program for our students. We are very proud of their work. And I'm gonna stay. I know that Mrs. Lanessa and Mrs. Moore will be leaving in a minute or two because they do have another meeting for the magnet coming up. So I'll just go to that last slide for the Spanish, and then I know that they need to leave. Thank you for helping, ladies. I appreciate your help.
You're welcome. Aquí está el Departamento de Estudiantes Sobresalientes y Estudios Avanzados, que es el departamento aquí de nosotros. Aquí hay la información de los que trabajamos en este departamento. Si tienen alguna pregunta o quisieran más información, se pueden comunicar con nosotros. Aquí están nuestros correos electrónicos y nuestros números telefónicos donde se pueden comunicar, y si no podemos contestar el teléfono, nos pueden llamar. Nos pueden mandar un correo electrónico y podemos responder tan luego estemos disponibles. Muchísimas gracias por haber asistido y les damos las gracias por el interés en nuestro programa y el estar aquí. En este momento, Miss Moore y yo, nos vamos a salir de esta junta porque tenemos otra junta en el SAC sobre los alumnos sobresalientes y cualquier otro alumno que se encuentre en la preparatoria y quiera tomar cursos avanzados que son pre-AP. Vamos a estar ahí a las 6 de la tarde, so están invitados. Muchísimas gracias.